Hey guys, look at this really cool recipe. You don't have to have a machine to make mint chocolate chip ice cream. Look how thick and rich that is, and so well frozen, and it's getting colder too. So try this out, you're gonna love it. It is a lot of fun, guys. Well, howdy folks, welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. On this episode, we're going to be making something that's really fun to make. Now this involves a little bit of chemistry. It's fun, you get the kids involved in this one. Doesn't require a machine either. A couple of bowls, a whisk and a spatula. We're still going to make a brine solution. It's going to be cold, somewhere between 0 and 15 degrees, and we're going to hand churn our ice cream. So guys, come on over. Let's look at these wonderful ingredients that I have out here, and let's get busy making mint chocolate chip ice cream. Come on over. Okay guys, let's discuss what we have here in the way of ingredients. The first thing that you have to have when you're going to make ice cream is, of course, ice. Lots and lots of ice. So what I have done is I have filled up a couple of gallon-sized bags of with ice cubes. And these are just regular old cubes I make in my own refrigerator. You can go buy ice if you want, but I figure if I've got a freezer that can freeze water, why should I buy it? You'll also need some salt. I have plenty of salt here, and I'm using a salt with a blue tint to it, and that way you can see it, but most ice cream salts are clear, so don't let that throw you guys. For our ice cream ingredients, we have whole cream. You don't have to use whole cream for this, but I tell you what, this right here is so delicious. The whole cream gives it such a wonderful mouth feel. It's going to give your mouth a bit of a butterfat coating. You're going to feel that in your mouth, and it changes the mouthfeel of the ice cream when you're eating it. It's quite unique. 1/2 of a cup of sugar. Now I'm using a raw cane sugar here, and you can just use regular ordinary old everyday household granulated sugar. It works fine. We will be using 1 teaspoon of peppermint extract. If you want to add some green tint to it, guys, you can, but you don't have to. 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and we're going to be making about 3/4 of a cup of chocolate chips. And I'm going to take a chocolate bar. Look at all those nuts. I want to take a chocolate bar, and I'm going to break it down into the chips that I want simply by putting it in a plastic bag and banging it with a skillet bottom. I froze this chocolate bar so it would be good and hard and ready for us to do this. Now, I chose one with nuts. You don't have to have chocolate with nuts, but I love dark chocolate and hazelnuts, and I thought, oh man, I'm going to make me a special mint chocolate chip ice cream with that. So I did that instead of just getting regular chocolate chips. You can get ordinary semi-sweet chocolate chips for this, guys, and that works great. Now let's get on with making that brine solution, getting the ice good and cold. This is sort of the chemistry part of it, guys. Okay guys, let's get busy making our brine. Now, I've got some ice in here, and I'm about to put a bunch of salt in there, and then more ice, and then more salt. And so it's sort of a layering kind of thing. You'll notice I'm using a lot of that salt. And that's what you got to do, is just go liberal with it. So let me explain to you the chemistry of this. What happens when water goes from a solid to a liquid? It gets colder than the 32 degrees it is as a solid, okay? I know it's hard to believe, but that's true. And when water has salt in it, when it is saline, it doesn't freeze at the same temperature as when it is just clear non-saline water or non-salt water. Well, the thing of it is it gets cold when it goes from solid to liquid, and the faster you can make it go from a solid to a liquid, the colder it gets. Yet still, the idea is to get it down to cold enough that it causes your cream to freeze. And you want to freeze your cream as quickly as possible as you're moving it around, and that's hard to do, move it and freeze it. The two things don't normally go together, so it takes a very cold environment. Now I'll explain Fahrenheit. The temperature scale, Fahrenheit, had to have a baseline, and the baseline for the temperature of 0 was achieved by mixing equal portions by weight of salt and ice. And when you do that, you end up with a brine solution, a temperature in that water of 0 degrees. So guys, there's your chemistry lesson right there. Fahrenheit, the baseline scale. Now I've got some more ice trays here. If you'll notice, I'm just using regular, everyday, good old-fashioned ice trays. Nothing special. And as I said, I was going to put more ice in there and then more salt. That way it's sort of getting melted on both sides, isn't it? Now, we'll give that time to get cold, and while it's busy getting cold, we're going to bust up our chocolate and mix together our cream. Alright guys, let's get together a couple of items. First of all, you need a skillet, something that you can whack that really good and hard with. And I want to start with roughly half of this bar, okay? Now place it in a Ziploc bag. I'm going to use my skillet and just go to bashing this until it's broken into small enough pieces for me to use. Remember, I had that in the freezer. Oh, there we go. Big pieces, little pieces, in between pieces. It's just wonderful. Okay, and that is about my 3/4 of a cup of chocolate chips, or in this case, chocolate and hazelnuts. I can't wait to get that in my ice cream. Guys, I can't begin to tell you how much fun it is to do these ice cream videos, because it's so much fun to make this. As I mentioned before, we can do it in 2 bowls, and I've got this bowl which is about half of the size of the bigger bowl that I have my ice in. Just perfect for what I'm doing. I'm going to put my cream down in this. As I mentioned, we're going to need about a half a teaspoon of that salt. Right about there. Gently in there. That's all we need. The vanilla, the reason we use vanilla is people characterize the flavor of cream and vanilla together, probably because of all the ice cream that's been sold. But they characterize one flavor as being similar or reminiscent of the other. And so what we do is we simply play on that memory of the taste buds. So we add in just a little bit of vanilla, and that is 1/2 of a teaspoon. I want 1 teaspoon of my mint. Now this is a peppermint extract. If you want to go a little heavy on it, do so. I like to. Get a few extra drops in there. The next item, my sugar. And I want to stir this as I add it. And as I mentioned, if you wish to add green, you can. You don't have to, but a lot of people associate the flavor of mint with the color green. So who am I to mess with their reality? How much green to use? Well, it depends on the dye that you use. Just add enough to make it look right to you. And guys, we also had that bag of chips and nuts. And down they go. How's that for a cool way to make your ice cream mixture? Guys, as with all things, when you make a recipe, you get it all stirred together, Put a spoon down in there, taste it, and make sure it's everything you want it to be. And then some. Oh yeah. Now, we have to get this refrigerated. So while I'm waiting for my brine solution to finish melting, I'm going to just simply put this in the freezer. Now don't worry guys, it's not going to start freezing up in there. It's not going to be in there long enough to freeze. You can put it in the refrigerator also. Either way it'll work. It'll do just fine. At the same time also, the spatula and your whisk, place those in the freezer because everything you're working with is going to have to be cold. Okay guys, our brine solution is starting to come up with water in the center there. I can start to see it now. I have my cooking thermometer here, and this is rated for, on the Fahrenheit side over there on the left side, it says -40 to 450 degrees. So this should have absolutely no problem at all reading what we have going on down here. Let me turn it on first. So we got about 74 degrees here in the kitchen. Let me plunge it down in this. So we presently have actually a negative temperature, which is very rare on a brine solution, but it does happen. I have a -0.9 degrees, almost a -1 degree. So that is extremely cold. At this point, I can add some water and we can go ahead and get our cream down in there. Now guys, I have a timer over here and we're going to be using this. I'm going to set this for 1 hour and we're going to just let it sit there and count down, and we're going to freeze this ice cream until it's good and cold and good and ready to use, and we will see exactly how long it takes to make this ice cream. All in all, if you're going to do it at home, you're looking at about a total of 1 hour. Now our temperature down here has come up to 0.2 degrees. Well, now we're directly at 0 degrees, so we're pretty much there, okay? So what I want to do is to add more water to this, and the reason is I want water to float around the sides of the bowl that I sink down in here. Okay guys, I think it's about time that we go ahead and get that cream mixture out. And I still have my spatula in the freezer. The cream mixture's right over here. I'm going to add a little bit of water down in this. And the thing of it is that when you do stuff like this, you might see the temperature fall. Because what you're doing, remember, the faster the ice melts, the colder it gets. And I've got a little bit of water pooling up near the top of the ice. 3.1 degrees, ice cream down in here. Sometimes you just got to give it a little persuasion, force it down in there. Over on the other side where the ice has come up high, I'm going to sprinkle just a little more salt across this. Now folks, when you get it to this point, you want to be real careful adding your salt. You don't want to get any salt down in your cream mixture. You don't want to taint that, right? And at the same time, you also don't want that bowl of cream dipping down too far in your brine solution. That's why it's important when you're doing this. Look for bowls that have a lip. This little lip right here can set on top of this little lip right here, and it prevents it from going too far down in there as I stir and work my ice cream. So all I have to do is give this a stir about once every, you're looking about once every 2 minutes. Guys, this doesn't take that long. If you think that you're going to be sitting in here for 2 hours doing this, no. Now that I got it in there, let's go ahead and start that timer. We have an hour time, or we're going to start it for 1 hour, and we're going to check that as we go. Before I wash this off and put it down in the cream, let's check that brine temperature once more. There we go. Okay, it's showing 7.2, 6.8. So it's a good cold temperature, and that's what I want. I want something around 15. You know, normally I look for 10 to 20 degrees when I'm making ice cream. That's a good temperature. But you can be a little colder. It does speed it up slightly. You do have to stir more frequently when it's colder like this. My cream is 40 degrees roughly, 39 to 40 degrees, and falling. So we're just going to give this a little bit of time. It needs to be cold. I need it around the mid-20s before it'll start freezing good. Now guys, if you're wondering why it takes such a cold temperature to freeze ice cream, let me explain it to you. When you put sugar in there and the fat, okay, both of those items make it harder for the water that's down in that milk mixture, that cream mixture, for that moisture to freeze, okay? It's like the antifreeze in your car. Your car antifreeze is what they call a glucose mixture, which is basically a sugar water mixture. That sugar doesn't like to freeze too quickly, guys. Be patient with it. After all, we're only 2 minutes in. Now I will be pausing the video from time to time as the countdown happens, and we will do that until this is finished up. But guys, be patient with it. And remember, this is fun for the kids too. Get everybody involved. It's a good party thing to do. See how many different kinds of ice cream you can make in little bowls. How much fun. Okay guys, we're actually 5 minutes in now, and I've let this chill for just a moment to show you something. Your chocolate will have a hard time sticking along with the nuts on that edge. What they're doing is they're freezing themselves to the edge. So remember, don't just let it sit there, guys. You have to keep stirring this. Like I said, at least once every 2 minutes. And if it starts sticking too much, you'll have to stir it a little more often. Now this churning motion, what we're doing here, that's in the ice cream making world, we call this churning, C-H-U-R-N-I-N-G. You know, similar to this word for churning butter. We're churning ice cream. And what we're trying to do here is to keep it soft and fluffy, to work air into it as we're freezing it. And that's part of what gives it that soft, light, fluffy character. Now, in a little bit, because this is really starting to bend my tines, I'm going to switch over to my spatula, and that's where that thing is real handy, as it grabs those items that are stuck to the side and pulls them free easily. Okay guys, I've just noticed that my timer has hit 50 minutes. So that means we are 10 minutes in on making this. There we go, and it's still sticking. Those edges real good, but that's a good sign because you can see how it's starting to thicken here. That's the freezing action that we're looking for right there. It started to happen, guys. So now that we're seeing a physical indicator on this, I'm going to go ahead, since it's getting very hard to use this, I'm going to switch over to my spatula. I've had this in my freezer the whole time, and I do that quite on purpose, like I said before. See there how that's working. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking this hand over here, my back hand, and I'm holding the bowl up out of the water while at the same time pushing it right here against this side so that the lip again overlaps, and it keeps my bowl from dipping down into that brine. Now guys, if the brine gets within an inch, that water gets within an inch of this outer bowl, of the top of it, just go ahead and take a little of that out. Now looky there. Ladies and gentlemen, guess what we're doing? We're making ice cream. As I say, when you get a brine solution that's as cold as I made mine, you have to stir more frequently. So we're having to stir almost constantly. And that's okay because it does make for a good ice cream. Now guys, I've just noticed that my timer hit 42, which means that we are 18 minutes in. My cream mixture is still thickening. It's doing real nice. It's starting to turn into a beautiful ice cream. And like I said, make sure you mix that once every 2 minutes at least. It's wanting to hang on there. Beautifully frozen. And this just hit 41. In just a little bit, you're going to notice this really firming up fast. Well, my timer says 36. So I am 24 minutes in, and my ice cream is starting to take on a little of its own shape by itself. It's holding shapes. But I have another problem, and that is my mixture below is getting a bit soupy and hard to deal with. So what I want to do is to remove some of my brine water, add more ice, more salt. Now it's still plenty cold. It is. It's very cold in there. There we go. And all I'm doing, this is just a matter of displacement. And there's also the need to keep this thing nice and cold. So we're going to do it this way. Just keep working those ice cubes around. And remember, when adding your salt, oh so gently, very slowly, don't get in a rush. You don't want it in your ice cream. We are now 26 minutes in total. My ice cream is starting to hold shape. Now guys, let's take some temperature readings. We're 28 minutes in. Okay, my cream is down to 22.5 degrees. So I'm getting good cold cream there. See how it's hanging on to my thermometer? Isn't that neat? Let's check the brine. I hope you guys can read that okay. I'm reading 9.9. So we're roughly hovering, I would say somewhere around 10 degrees on the outside of this bowl. Remember when I told you because of the sugar and the fat in this, it does take it a little bit colder temperatures to become frozen. Colder than just 32 degrees, that is, the temperature that water freezes at. Now let's also take a quick peek at our time. The timer says 31. So essentially guys, we are, 30, right at 1/2 of an hour in on making our ice cream. And look, it's coming along just fine. Pretty soon it's going to be good and firm, and we're going to be dishing it up to enjoy. Now guys, I'm still going at it. It's getting quite difficult to stir. It's getting quite thick. Let's take a look at our time. 22. Okay, well, you know what that means. We're 38 minutes in. And at this point, I also like to push this bowl down so that the sides or the top edges are level between the two bowls. And it does really help with that chilling on it. Remember, you don't want that brine within an inch of the top here. If it comes up more than that, you want to take some of that liquid out of it. Now these days you'll see people work special ice cream concoctions on special cold plates, nitrogen chilled cold plates. And that is a really cool thing to watch. But let's face it, how many of us have liquid nitrogen at home or the equipment by which to process and work with that? Okay, that's not really a common item, guys. So, what's your next best thing? 0 degrees with a brine solution. So now I'm starting to turn it and work that colder cream towards the center, pulling it up off the bottom. That stuff is getting very, very thick, guys. Very firm. So you'll know, let's take another look. 19 minutes. Well, so we're 41 minutes into this total make. Total time I'm looking at on this, we're probably looking at to make a really very firm ice cream, and I mean it's getting there really quick, but to get it to where you can scoop it and keep its shape as a scoop shape, yeah, probably about 1 hour. It'll get there. But right now, look at that. You have a beautiful, really firm, soft serve ice cream with this. Guys, my timer says 14 minutes, and that means that we are 46 minutes into this. And let me show you just exactly what I'm getting here. Oh, wow, it is so difficult to get that to come free from the side. So as you can see, we're there. You have a beautiful ice cream for the kids. If you want this to chill down and get a little firmer, hey, as you've seen it go, give it a little more time, it's going to chill down and get a little firmer. The timer's at 13 minutes. Now let's go ahead and take one last reading so we can get a good idea of what our temperatures are sitting at now. So as you can see, the reason that cream is getting really, really difficult for me to stir is it is at, roughly 18 degrees, okay? So that's why. Well guys, as you can see, you don't have to have a machine. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't take special equipment. Hang on, let me give this a bit of a stir here. Yeah, it gets really stiff after a bit. You can use a steel spoon at this point, it helps. Okay, let me pull some of this up. It's not gonna go in there. I'm gonna have to do it like that. There we go. Oh, mint chocolate chip. You know the best part? I get to have my favorite chocolate bar with this beautiful mint chocolate ice cream. Man. Oh, man, that is so good. I'm going to be enjoying that. I don't know if I want to share with the neighbors now. Guys, thank you very much for watching Texas Cooking Today. Thank you very much to my subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, well, please do. What are you waiting for? Get cool stuff like this all of the time. All right? Now, if you would, please share my videos. Click the like button. That really helps me out. Comments and questions, I'll do my best to answer as many as possible. And you guys, well, if you would, please have a good day. Bye-bye. Oh, let's take a look at that timer. 7 minutes, guys. See you later.